Hello, testing, testing, checking to see if we have a good connection, seeing how much lag we have going on. Um, I'm now also trying a midday on a Friday afternoon live, so let's see whether or not we actually get anyone here. So let me just quickly get the links out. If someone can confirm that we actually have a connection that's working and that you can hear me all right, trying my new setup. All right, here we go here. Here we go here. All right, let's put it up on the Twitter, and then we'll put it on the Facebook. And then I hopefully will be able to start soon. Um, Let me just connect here. Do we have confirmation that there actually is? Okay, you can hear. Thank you, Stephanie. First message here. This will be very interesting because midday on a Friday, I suspect a lot of people are actually working. But given the news, given the high level of emotions, I think it's very important that we have a good discussion. So let me just type in here, going live on YouTube to address vaccine safety slash hesitancy, succeeding with what we need, and sending advocacy letters. Please watch if you can. We'll take questions after. Really appreciate you guys whenever you join me at the start of these lives, because I know the first 3 minutes or so are really setting things up operationally. I think a lot of it has to do with how much engagement we have in the group, and we want to make sure that we move forward together step by step. So a lot of it becomes last minute, but I like this interactivity, and I like the ability for us to actually engage when we need to. And I think today is one of those days where we need to. I do have a day job, but I think there are enough concerns and stresses that people are going through today that we really do need to address a few things. Let me just get this up to the Facebook page. Now, if anyone here is watching, if you don't mind hitting share and sharing it with one person you think might find this helpful, particularly if they have concerns about vaccines, in particular, they're hesitant maybe to trust that the science makes it safe, or they feel that vaccines should not be part of the current border measures. I think this is the kind of video that I would want to share with them. And if you haven't liked or subscribed to our to our to our YouTube channel, I ask that you please do that as well. I'm sorry, I feel so silly saying that, but the reason it's important is because we need to show the government that we have a high number of people who are interested in the work that we're doing, and therefore cannot be ignored moving forward when it comes to the border concerns. So right now I'm sharing it to the Facebook page, sharing it to the Facebook group. Let me just confirm that it's there. If you guys are able to, while I am dilly-dallying, to share it with whatever group or with whatever people you feel might find this helpful. Please do so, because we really need that level of support. Okay, I'm just making sure that it's within our Facebook group, and then we can get started here. So let's see, under new activity. Okay, interesting, when Facebook posts it, it doesn't actually explain in the group why we're doing this. Okay, here we go. Let me confirm with my Facebook chats that people are sharing this to who they need to. Thank you again, in addition to our regular team, the other group that I'm calling the second wave, who have been incredibly helpful and vital to our recent letter writing pushes and getting the attention of the government. Okay, doing a quick check here, nothing there. All right, going back to the Facebook room, and here we are. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have a substantially higher number of people who come after work. Conversely, this will be helpful for the rest of the day, because I have seen a lot of discussion today in the various border groups, not only the Face of Advocacy, but the other ones that I'm part of, that essentially boil down to not only debating the science behind the vaccine, but debating the vaccine's role when it comes to a border opening. And right off the bat, those who cannot get vaccinated, you are not forgotten. In all of the Faces of Advocacy plans, including the most recent, the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan, we press specifically for a non-hotel quarantine plan based off of the recent recommendations for those who are not vaccinated or partially vaccinated. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. I understand you are feeling left behind. I understand you cannot get your vaccination. I understand there are a number of reasons why someone cannot get vaccinated. So to you, I want to reassure you, you are not forgotten. The reason why vaccines are a huge part of today's border discussion. Thank you, Justin, my chief of staff, our chief of staff. It says captions. I'm pressing the caption button. I don't see anything appearing, but I hope something appears. Maybe they're auto-generated by YouTube. I can't tell. Does anyone see any captions sometimes? Okay, well, I'm hoping it works. So the reason why vaccines are listed so much right now is because the government has stated that those who are vaccinated will be able to come in without hotel quarantine or home quarantine in July. So that's why it's dominating a lot of the discussion. It should not be only those who are vaccinated should be able to see their families. I make that very clear. It's just at the moment, we have to strike this opportunity to get as many families together as possible. And that's why it dominates the news. So the first section, why does vaccination have a role with family unification? That part is there. Now that's a separate debate to the other things that I might be seeing on the Facebook groups. And please forgive me if I misunderstand it. But there is apparent discussion on whether or not the vaccines are safe. Safe meaning specifically, will this have long-term side effects? And how on earth can this have been safe if it was sped through and the research happened within 1 year? So I would like to address this directly. Now, full disclosure, I am a family physician. I have my master's in public health. And I'm also a public health and preventive medicine resident. So the way I quickly explain it to someone is, that's kind of like medical officer of health training. But I am not speaking to you today as any of those roles. I'm speaking to you today as a member of the public using publicly available sources. I will choose sources that I believe are very reputable, and I understand some people will not believe these sources. Today we'll be discussing Gavi, as well as British Columbia, the government. Gavi is a worldwide recognized program to deliver immunizations to underserved people. And it is independent from government agencies and pharmaceuticals. And then the public health in British Columbia is, I suppose, a government agency. But we're in Canada, and I do trust the science that comes out of the government of Canada. So let me share my screen here. While we do so, if you don't mind sharing the link with people who you believe might benefit from this level of discussion. Trying to find the browser here, my apologies. Okay, here we go. So I just want to confirm that you guys are able to see my browser. Now, while I'm sharing my screen, I will not be able to see specifically what you guys are saying in the YouTube chat. So right now, you should all see my Facebook page here. Okay, so when it comes to how everything happened so quickly, so the take-home message is, because the COVID-19 was such a incredibly large worldwide terror on humanity, a lot of investment was made to get accelerated research and development of this vaccine. So just because it occurred over essentially 1 year, it doesn't mean that it's unsafe or that it was rushed. It just means a whole bunch of resources came in. Those resources were the reason why it could have been developed so quickly. So rightfully, people say, oh, it usually takes years and years to make the medicines. But the thing is, those medicines did not have the incredibly unprecedented amount of resources being put in to develop this. So Gavi goes into this specifically. And so the mRNA technology behind it has been used before. Okay, so that's how we had a base idea, the blueprint. So some of the vaccines uses mRNA, some of the other vaccines use other methods, but they've all had previous precedents. Um, when it comes to the fact that people are worrying, are there actually going to be safety issues? There were a large number of clinical trials, and these clinical trials have international eyes on them. Um, the reason they could occur so quickly was because of the incredible amount of resources that were put into them. So if you believe an international panel of experts looking at how this was developed, I hope that offers you some level of solace or some level of help, because it's very important for us not to be spending time debating whether or not the vaccine works. I understand some of you have skepticism when it comes to the science, and I'm just giving you the publicly available information on why the science behind the vaccine should offer you reassurance. When it comes to the long-term side effects, so let's say you believe that it works, but are you worried that it's going to cause you long-term issues? So British Columbia here summarized a lot of the available evidence from the CDC, but because mRNA vaccines have been studied for quite some time with previous issues like they say flu, Zika, rabies, cytomegalovirus. There's a lot of research on the side effects. And so you might be thinking, okay, well, they only released it this year. How are we going to know what happens 10 years from now? The technology behind it has been studied extensively. So it's true it's a new vaccine, but the methods behind it are not necessarily that new. So some of you might have a lot of concerns thinking, oh, how can we trust this new thing? We haven't had anyone have it for 10 years. Um, you could argue that for a lot of new technologies, but the new technologies are based on the older technologies which have been proven. So for this reason, I hope this offers some level of reassurance. Now, let's say after this discussion, you still do not believe at all about the efficacy or safety of the vaccine. The Faces of Advocacy ran into some of these issues last year. When we began, there was some pushback from people who believe that COVID was not a danger, that people believe that COVID was not nearly as bad as what people say. And now we see that it's actually quite dangerous. But at the time, some people were pushing back. And what I just said was this. I said, leave your opinion on the dangers of COVID at the door. Now, I personally believe COVID is very dangerous, but let's say you don't. Leave it at the door. Don't bring it into the group, because our singular purpose in the group is to ensure safe family reunification. So that means sending letters, calling your representatives, getting attention to our issues, sharing stories. So, so let's say the past 10 minutes of me speaking, you still don't believe that the vaccines are safe. No one will probably be able to convince you right now. But if you are focused on reuniting with your family, let's not waste time debating the safety of the vaccine, because we know the government considers it safe. I consider it safe, and a great number of us do. We need to move forward and actually succeed at getting safe family reunification occurring. And so please check those differences at the door. When you're in the face of advocacy, focus on getting people together, helping one another out. That's the highest priority. So let's go to today's example. So essentially, they have renewed the restriction between the US border and Canada for another month. Now, I know this is disappointing to a lot of people. And for those of you asking, is Faces of Advocacy only care about the American border? That is not true. I myself have a partner in Europe. A good handful of us on the main team have partners overseas. We're just talking about the American border right now for two reasons. One, the news that came out today, and two, what happens in the US border essentially will end up getting applied to the rest of the borders. I know you're disheartened, When it comes to family reunification specifically, this is still a very good thing because in July, the changes to quarantine requirements will still apply to immediate and extended family members. So yes, the borders may still be closed for other things, which are still important: tourism, property owners, business. Okay, so the border will still be closed for that. There's no change to who is allowed to enter Canada, but there will be substantial changes to those who enter Canada and the quarantine requirements that they have to undertake. So while it's very disappointing for people who are attempting to do other things other than family reunification, and I know that's very important to families, the fact that fully vaccinated individuals are likely to be exempt from hotel quarantine and home quarantine is an incredibly important thing. And this sort of forward momentum is only good for families. There's still a lot more to do. And that brings us to the next step. It brings us up to the advocacy letter. Okay. So the advocacy letter is the bread and butter of the face of advocacy. To do it, there's a lot of links elsewhere, but to do it simply, go to facebook.com/faces of advocacy. Okay. When you're at Faces of Advocacy, you go to our pin post, the top post. Look at this meme made by Dot Murray. And then you have a choice of English or French. Click on the English one. See if you agree with the letter that auto-populates. The one-click email should work on any device where you have a default email program. So for example, if you have an iPhone, your mail program, or in a browser, if you have a default mail program on your computer. This is very important, guys. Read through it. And when you see MP name, type in your MP. You know, who is your MP? Mine is Freeland because I'm in Toronto. And she's not MP, she's Minister Freeland, okay? At the end, sincerely, name, address, postal code. Please do not leave it name, address, postal code. Put your name. So this is my name. Do not put David Edward Uipoon. Put your name on it, okay? And you might think that I'm being facetious, and I am. But we have seen a lot of these letters come out with the word name, address, postal code at the bottom. Dear MP name. And if we're going to maintain legitimacy and enact change, we need to do this a little bit more carefully. I'm not putting my home address on a public forum, but I'll put my address here. Okay, now, because Christia Freeland is already written in the to section, I'm not typing her name in here, but type in your personal MP's email address here, okay? Once you get that done, make sure you agree with what we're writing and hit send, okay? That's the one click, okay? And that's the basic idea. While we're here, I want to show you a few things. Number one, go to our youtube.com/C for channel /Faces of Advocacy. Just find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube. And if you can, please subscribe. So yours should have a little subscribe here or a little bell here. We need to stay organized as we move forward because there's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of work for us to do together. I get that many of you are feeling very downtrodden right now. I realize there's a huge toll on mental health, but we need to succeed. And to do so, we have to remain organized. For that reason, please follow us on YouTube. Facebook has been helpful. I think YouTube is our next step. Right now, we're at 1.3K subscribers. I would like to hit 2,000 by the time the election rolls by. So we have 1 or 2 months. So if you have time, please share this video with someone. Please find someone else, just one other person, to please subscribe to our YouTube channel because we need to keep together and we need to keep moving forward. I get this question once in a while. You don't have to donate. I just wanted to specify that there is a way to donate to the campaign. buymeacoffee.com/Faces of Advocacy. buymeacoffee.com/Faces of Advocacy. We will continue to work regardless, but if you'd like to, that option is there. You don't need to. All right, so let's go now, because I haven't been monitoring the YouTube chat, to actually what's occurring. All right. Okay, so right off the bat, we have something in the chat here. A discussion on whether or not the mRNA vaccine would be safe because it should take 6 to 10 years. Look up mRNA studies, never make it past rodents. So once again, there is an unprecedented amount of resources being sent here. If previous things did not go past a certain stage of the vaccine development, it could have been because it wasn't financially viable. It could have been there was no pressure to actually do so. political pressure, health pressure. These are all different reasons. But once again, I do believe at this point, if you do not believe that the vaccine is safe, which it is, but if you do not believe it, please just leave it at the door, because we do not have time to debate that as we're fighting for family reunification. That's all I'm asking. Okay. Do we have any other questions? All right. So thank you very much for joining me on a middle of the afternoon on a Friday chat. Please share this video if you can. Please share it to those areas where there might be some spirited discussion on vaccine safety and why there's a role of vaccines in our family reunification. I understand today's news is disappointing, but we have to focus on the fact that we are able to reunite in Canada under immediate and extended family exemptions. That is still preserved, and we shall be able to do so without mandatory hotel quarantine and home quarantine. The Family Reunification Border Transition Plan, which the Faces of Advocacy released on the 15th, specifies a plan for those who are unable to get immunized and those who are partially immunized. The Faces of Advocacy Border Transition Plan is ideal if implemented in July to bring families together. So thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day, and I'm sorry for all the stress today. If you can, please help people because a lot of us are suffering and people need you right now. Thanks so much for your time.